right, it's preparing to stream.
Okay, yes, that's right.
All right. I'm going to close that so I don't hear an echo. All right. Hello, I'm Jeffrey. This is Jacob. We are here for the June 25th, 2021 meeting of the Node.js Loaders team. It is just us, and our agenda is basically to go through Jacob's PR that I'm hoping to land soon. So I think we're just going to dive into that. And if anyone else joins, we can do other business. So let me get set up to share my screen. All right, so I just opened this a few minutes ago. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so it's bigger. All right, so I think, yeah, that's fine, whatever, the linter. Oh, so this is a minor thing. I feel like I don't see undefined as an option most of the time in the docs. I think the way that they specify optional things is with brackets.
Oh, okay.
So rather than making undefined be one of the options, like position is obviously either integer or undefined for this function, but they're not listing undefined here. So we could just put parent URL in brackets and then say string, and that's probably all we need to do.
Okay, cool. I like that better.
But yeah, that's just a minor note. All right, so where was it? This looks good. Thank you for making that change. This was just a typo. Let's see.
Oh, I missed that. Okay. Oh, yes. In America, you say the future.
Oh, is that? Oh, I didn't know that was something different elsewhere. All right. I think this is all more or less what I reviewed before. All right, so you need to add that thing about resolve and format, I guess, right? So, all right, so I'm just gonna put like notes in here somewhere. So,
I think there is a comment in the resolve section that talks about this. I can't remember where it settled, but if we pull that up, we should have an answer.
Resolve hook returns the resolved URL. And optionally its format as a hint to the load hook. I don't see anything else. So it's just like,
I thought I said something like, which it's free to ignore. Where did that go? Okay. I've just got it locally because there's extra bits that are relating to that follow-up story we were talking about before we started the meeting of adding a nice to have, where if a resolve hook returns a format, but there is no custom load hook provided, that it would be automatically piped to Node's custom load hook, which would consume it. So I just didn't properly separate the staged, unstaged bits. So I can do that right after.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, then you can just treat this as like a reminder then, like if you already have it somewhere, but like as long as it's somewhere, probably in the resolve hook section, I think would make the most sense. But yeah, this is just like a first pass. There's a whole bunch of things that like, there are some people who are members of the TSC are like very particular with like certain technical language. Like they don't want you to say note that, just be like, just say what it is rather than note that such and such. They discourage using the word you. Node always has to be written as Node.js. Like there's like a list of things that like you kind of start to remember as you write these a lot, but it can be very frustrating when you're first starting. It's like, some of these are caught by the linter, but a lot of them aren't.
Yeah, the note that one was. I did that when I was including these latest things and it complained about it. And I was like, okay, sure.
I mean, I guess it's just considered bad writing, but someone's preference essentially of what is considered good or bad writing. So, all right. So, all right. So this was the former get format hook, and then I guess most of this stuff got moved into under load. Okay. If this, wait, what is the exclamation point?
Sorry, which exclamation point? The text is really small. I believe exclamation point means not null. Like it's not nullable, but I don't think I wrote that.
Like this was here before?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it just got like auto formatted or something.
Yeah. Okay.
I can uncollapse it. I don't remember.
I mean,
where.
I'm just not really used to this format. Like I wish that we were using JS doc, but it's not like we're going to change it throughout all the docs right now. So
Yeah.
So yeah, this is fine.
Oh, I know what I did. I added on new line 722, and also added format, and then that caused the lines to be longer than 80 characters. So then, in order to not have like some bizarre break, I added more line breaking and stuff.
That's fine. All right, this is fine. Okay. I don't think this works. Does it?
Sorry, what line 877?
Yeah. Have you tested this? I thought you had to do like import promises as fs and then const read file equals promises. I mean, I'd love to be wrong in that, but I didn't. Anyway, you just
I
test.
think
I would
that's
just test that out.
okay. Like it looks like something I've done before. I think that's fine.
Well, you might have done it before in code that's being transpiled, because if this is transpiled, this will work in the CommonJS equivalent where it's like require fs/promises. That would work, but I think that this doesn't work in ESM, like native ESM. But it's just something to check. Here, I'll just add a note.
Okay.
If it works, great. I'm happy to be wrong.
Sure. I don't know where that particular line addition came from. I don't think it's something that I added. I think it might have been a suggestion from somebody else.
Oh, I see what's happened. So the reason you added it is because we're actually doing the. So I think the way that this was, well, this was get format, but like in the old get source, well, it was just using default transform source. So I think the way that this example should be written though is to not like actually load the file from disk, because that way this means that like there's no possibility of chaining this hook. Now, obviously we're not supporting chaining yet, but we might as well like write the example with that future in mind. I think if this is await default load,
Mhm.
then that'll become next or done, whatever the change version is. We replace default load with that call, and then this works fine. You know what I mean? Whereas here, it's like I think there's this becomes a dead end. Like we're never calling the next hook in the chain if we do read file. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay, sure, yeah.
Because I think what default load takes the same like URL context. So you could just do await default load URL context, and then that it should function identically, right?
Yes.
And then you don't even need this up here.
Yeah.
So um, this is fine. I guess this got moved from, yeah, it got moved from there. Okay. Um, yeah, you could probably rewrite this to like, um, oh wait, it's gonna return. This is a question though, like the URL is gonna end in .coffee. So is default load gonna load it?
No, it's gonna barf. Oh wait, no, default load.
This was one of the things we needed to fix, right? We needed to not have them error on unknown file extensions, like the default versions of the hooks. We needed to take that out. Like whenever the loaders are fully finished, like whatever's returned by this hook to Node for then
Mhm.
Node's ESM loader to actually go and execute, like all the loader hooks have run at that point, and now it's in the hands of Node to do something with. At that point is when we want Node to check, like, do I support this? You know what I mean?
Uh,
Um,
Give me 1 second. This would be in ESM loader um, get module job or something. Um,
but even then, like if we had a loader returning something that says like a hook returning something like file.coffee. Well, this is just returning the actual source. So there's no file extension for it to check that it doesn't support. So this would be fine. So I guess it's just more that like inside default load, like when we call the default versions of nodes, like default resolve and default load, there shouldn't be any error checking there. Like leave the error checking to be after all the loader hooks are done. You know what I mean?
I and now that you mention that, I think that is the update that was made. I'm trying to pull it up right now,
Did you
but
make it in this PR already?
yeah, I believe it's in the PR currently.
Okay.
GitHub is collapsing that file because there's like 600 lines of stuff. I'm trying
Okay.
to pull it up on my local, but it's frozen. I believe
We
we moved
should,
all the checks out of the individual methods and then moved them just to the end. So like when
so
the chain is done.
this repo has that example right here.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say like check out this repo on your machine, next to your node repo. Update this example with whatever you know, whatever the new version is in the docs, and just make sure it runs. You know what I mean? And
Right.
then and ideally with something like this, so that so that we don't need to update the example again when we add chaining. Um, or maybe we rename this to next or whatever it is, but other than that, it doesn't need to be updated.
Right.
And then because we don't want to publish an example that breaks,
Yes.
and there's no way really to do that within, like, unless you can write this example as a test somehow in the repo. I don't know how you, um, I mean, you can't realistically put, because you can't put the CoffeeScript dependency in the node project. So that's why I think I had to create this separate repo for that. And the ESM example makes a poor test because we don't want to actually make like network calls as part of, running the unit tests.
I
So
do
that's, I
believe
think, why both of those were in this other repo, but, we could verify them manually.
I do believe some of the unit tests that I wrote for this have custom file extensions, so like things that don't even exist. So the resolve hook just needs to tell Node that like this is okay, and then it will pass to the load hook just fine. And the load hook needs to be like looking for it and handle it. Otherwise, if it eventually passes through to the end, then Node will barf.
Okay,
Why is this?
so just adding a note.
Okay. Yeah, and I remember you added me to that repository. I was just moving, so I haven't had a chance to actually do it yet.
Oh, and then, yeah, I saw this. This looks good. Have you done this already?
No,
Or
this
you've
is the
done
thing.
you've done the docs part, but not the other part?
I've done here. Let me post real quick.
If you're still gonna edit the code or edit some more, maybe just put like a to-do in the note in the code somewhere where, like, maybe next to default load saying, oh, add this functionality, in a future PR.
Oh, I did. If you refresh, it's there.
Okay. Well, I don't want to lose my place, but I'll just keep going.
Okay.
I believe you. All right.
By the way,
And that was it for the docs. So yeah, I think we're in a good spot. Just a few minor notes, and well, yeah, we should make sure that these two loaders. So in this repo,
Mhm.
I was doing the first three here. This one I never really got to work. I basically wanted to be like, what would be a loader version of that other flag, experimental model resolution equals node? Like, say we were to remove that. I mean, there's never going to be consensus to make it non-experimental. So it's either it stays as a flag that's experimental forever, or we just remove it, which also might not get consensus. So maybe the status quo will stay that way forever. But I at least wanted to have an option. Like, if people wanted to remove it, it should be something that's doable via a loader. Like, you're just mapping like /file to /file.js or something like that. But you have to make however many file system calls to determine whether it should be file.js or file.json or file.node or whatever.
I think there would be a way to make that more performant. You could do a directory list, and then that would tell you all the names of the files that are in the particular directory. So you don't have to make n number of FS calls, and then you could just loop through them.
I think that would be true if you knew the like root point of the project, which I think in Node's case it doesn't, because like any require call or import statement could just be load from anywhere on the file system. You also don't necessarily know that that say the root of your project, maybe it has 1 million non-JavaScript files in there. And so then it's like the file list is incredibly expensive for, say 2 JavaScript files intermixed with 1 million images or something like that. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, like it could be faster depending on the project. Like in a Node modules folder, it would probably be faster. But I think like Node doesn't want to make those assumptions where it's like, it's a linear cost to just like for every module specifier, you're making up to 6 calls, like file.js, file.json, file.node, file/index.js, file/index.json, file/index.node, So yeah, that's painful to potentially make 6 file system calls, but it's capped at 6. I think that's probably what they were thinking. But anyway, yeah, I wasn't trying to re-implement the algorithm. I just or reimagine the algorithm. I just wanted to take the algorithm that already existed for finding extensions and being like, say that, so that algorithm just doesn't exist in ESM. unless you use this experimental module resolution equals node flag. But imagine that that flag doesn't exist. How would you achieve the same with a loader? Because I think there's a lot of value in that there are tools like Webpack that do just that, like that they re-implement Node's resolution, and TypeScript, the TypeScript compiler itself also does this. They re-implement Node's algorithm, like in TypeScript's case, to like find .ts files and stuff like that. So since it's already happening in these like build tools, you like if we wanted to make a loader version of TS Node, it would need this functionality of like doing the resolution. So since this is like a common use case that lots of tools kind of would need, I was thinking like we should be able to make a loader for this, and that's a good proof of concept of like if I can't do this using the current Loaders API, then the Loaders API is deficient because this is something that should be doable, in our Loaders API. So these two, CoffeeScript and HTTPS, already work, and that's why they're in the examples. I could never get this one to work. So, maybe after your PR ships, it would be something to revisit. Derek was working on this one. I don't know where he left off with that. I think it had to do with like, it was a loader to verify like checksums or something like that of the files being loaded. So maybe he got it to work. I don't remember. Or maybe, sorry, it wasn't Derek. It was Aurelio. But anyway, there's good stuff in here. So it's a varying states of workingness. But I would say these two at least, let's make sure work under your branch, or updated versions of them work under your branch, and then we can update the docs with whatever the final versions of these are. And then we have like good examples. We should update this repo too. And then we have good examples for people to follow. So yeah, I don't know if we want to go through all of this together live because I haven't read all this part yet. But I mean, this we should definitely at least have a documentation note. I think you already did this, right?
Yeah, that's what the thumbs up is. I didn't
Okay.
I didn't resolve it because he opened it. Okay.
Yeah. Here, maybe that's all. Maybe I'll just skim through looking for any other comments. What's this one? Okay. By the way, I know people keep talking about like package scoped loaders. That came up a lot early on in the modules team discussions. Like even before we were talking about loaders, we were talking about package scope configuration. So like we do have some package scope configuration, which is like the type field, the exports field, the imports field. I think those ended up getting implemented as like part of Node specifically because implementing package scope loaders would have been too problematic because like you would have to like this for the same reason that loaders currently are, you always have to use them via flag because like Node has to have them like loaded in memory before it loads any application code files. Well, how would you find all these loaders hidden in packages before loading application? You'd have to scan the entire like subfolder tree from the current working folder to find all loaders in all subfolders, whether or not those packages ever get imported by the project. And then you load that, and then you load all of those and keep track of what their scope was. Like this affects this folder and subfolders, and this affects this subfolder. And then you would like load everything. So this would be like a tremendous performance hit. And so that's why this was, not pursued essentially. So I think not to say that it's like completely unachievable. Like you could maybe have a flag that enables this behavior of like, you know, a dash dash package loaders flag that only when that flag is set does it search all subfolders for loaders and blah blah blah. So it's not like people are opposed to it per se. It's more that like once you start getting into the details of like how would you actually achieve this, it gets real messy real fast. So it's you know it's potentially doable, but I feel like it was something people were talking about with regards to, oh, we want to load loaders through package.json rather than through flags, as if that's just an easy thing. But there's a lot of extra complexity with that. Um, like maybe like there, I don't think we have a concept yet of the like entry point package.json. So like you have to give Node an entry file, like node space file.js or something like that, or entry.js say. Um, and Node immediately has to find the nearest parent package.json for that file to know if that file should be treated as ESM or not, right? So yes, we have loaded that package.json before doing anything. And if that package.json has stuff in it, maybe we could use that, like treat that as a special case of like, we could read the entry point package.json. If it defines loaders, we use them, but no other package.jsons like do we read loaders from. And so that way we get the desired result of not needing to pass flags for people like running in lambdas or something, but we still don't provide package scoped loaders. It's like these are global loaders loaded as part of loading your app as if you had set them as a flag. But I have a feeling there are going to be issues with that approach of like privileging one package.json over another or over all the others. I'm sure people are going to be pointing out like all sorts of unintended consequences once you start doing that. Like, wait, why would a load, say you add a loaders flag to package.json, why is it ignored everywhere else except here? Is that confusing? Or you know what I mean? Like people will come up with complaints. And so I don't know. I'm just saying like there's a minefield of trying to solve this problem in a way that satisfies everyone in terms of like UX and not confusing users and those types of concerns, but also not introducing big performance bottlenecks. So I think it's doable. It's just like we have consensus at least on a whole bunch of stuff already of like, yes, we want to do this PR. We need to nail down the specific language, the specific code, but there's consensus that we want to do what you're attempting to do here. You know what I mean? Like the hard part has already been achieved. There is consensus that we want to add chaining. We could debate next versus done, but I think for sure we will do one or the other of them. And there is consensus that we want to do at least, one of them.
Something like that.
So it's like, I kind of want to focus on like, we have a path forward that'll get us a long way, and getting rid of needing to use a flag feels like a much lower priority, especially if it's going to be difficult to come up with a design that satisfies everyone. So
yeah. By the way, could you promote Bradley to panelist?
Oh, sure. I didn't. Yeah, I've got this on full screen, so I didn't see. Where's the?
Oh, also it looks like Brian and Stephen are here too.
They've probably been here a while. I have no idea.
Yeah, I didn't until Bradley started posting in the chat, and I was like, oh. Yeah, I would say the unflagged version of loaders would be a should, but not a must.
Yeah. Hey.
So, one minor clarification. We already take that perf hit for the directory crawl for the type field. So it doesn't matter.
All right. Well, then take it back.
We pushed back very hard against the type field in the early days. Well, we got pushback because it was costly to do. And then eventually it was just too hard to get any compatibility with the ecosystem without it.
Yeah, I was going to ask if we could piggyback off of that type search. So it sounds like yes. Yay.
So we actually
maybe I'm just misremembering then what the discussion was. But yeah, if it's, I'm not opposed in general to
So-
adding package scoped loaders, but like I feel like there were a lot of concerns that made it not easy. Is like the
There
I
were
remember.
two main concerns. You kind of hit on them. Performance is one of them, where if you have loaders in every different package, that means your packages act reliably, but that means you have potentially hundreds of loaders.
Right. For a node modules project. Like I can imagine there being a handful of loaders that are really popular, like, oh, this one about adding the file extensions or something. Then if you've got, 500 node dependencies that use that loader, it's like, how much of a performance hit does that give you?
Well, that depends. But on the other hand, you can have only one loader, like you said, at the top level, your application loader, but then your dependencies fail to load if you run them as bins and things. So if you run them, they're bins, and the bins require a loader, that fails.
I think it should be fine to allow or I guess enable users to have a number of loaders if they so choose. Like there may or may not be consequences, but
There
Well,
was-
at the top level, sure, but I think the question is like, you can't really control what your dependencies are doing very easily. Like you don't want to have to.
But
force
your
the dependencies to
dependencies
take the loader out of
require
it.
the loaders to function. So
Right.
that's the tension.
So I think we should say like, okay, sure, you can. And then if it's a dependency that does naughty things, then maybe don't use that dependency.
So one of the big concerns was TypeScript is costly to spin up, really costly. And so if you spin up the TypeScript API and server, compiler, whatever you want to call it, you're adding a good half second to your load time to do effectively nothing in the beginning. Yeah. You may not even use it.
Right, and there might be lots of dependencies that they just want to ship TypeScript and not transpile it. They don't want to bother to set up in the build pipelines. They just throw in the TypeScript loader in their package at JSON and call it done. And now it's like you've got a really slow dependency.
Yeah, so that was the pushback on the RFC, which I think is still open on Node Core in the issues. So we never got past that.
I mean, in fairness, these objections are more to various ideas for how to implement it. Like I don't think anyone's objected to like, no, dependencies shouldn't be allowed to define their own loaders, period.
I
Like
did.
even if it was cost free, even if it was no performance hit, like blah blah
blah. Guy Bedford did.
Oh,
that was the only.
So what was his like more philosophical objection then?
Basically, you're shipping stuff that is not runnable directly off registries. And so he's the main voice of the kind of compiler registries like Unpackage. He does System.js and JSPM. And so like if you ship stuff up there that they can't run, it kind of breaks their whole workflow. And the workflow people using them.
Arguably, like most node packages already have this problem with things like missing file extensions and import statements, etc. So they're like those package registries are already doing some transformation.
Correct.
But yeah, like if you add at least the transformations they're doing, it's like it's a known limit of what they need to do to transform. It's like all the stuff that works in Node and not in browsers, but that's at least a known quantity. Whereas like if a package could ship a custom loader, then it's like something like Unpackage would have no idea what transformations it would need to do to make that runnable in a browser.
Yep. And this gets more complicated because per package loaders may pin to a specific version. Like say you've got a CoffeeScript version that introduces a breaking change for whatever reason, you want to have a single package using that coffee script transform if it hasn't updated to handle the breaking change. And other things may have already updated, so they want to be on different versions. And so that's not doable from the application level. You have to go
Yeah,
paint
this
another
is
package.
there's like a long running ticket on the Dino project that I got tagged in a long time ago where so like Dino basically bundles the TypeScript transpiler inside their runtime. And they've had this ticket open for like 2 years now of like support other transpilers. And so like the first custom one would be CoffeeScript because I mean I guess it's still the second most popular one after TypeScript. Um, so then my question was like, wait a minute, so how are you like dealing with versions of versions of TypeScript? And they're just like, well, it's just baked into the Dino runtime. Like just as Node has a particular version of the V8 runtime, each version of Dino has a particular version of TypeScript, and that's it. You just can't run your TypeScript code with any other version of the TypeScript compiler with Dino.
Yep.
It's just like not possible. So adding support for custom transpilers also potentially then means they like allow you to potentially use a different version of TypeScript with Dino, which then opens up a can of worms. So I think they wanted to figure out that issue of like, could we separate out this kind of like baked in hard coded version of the TypeScript compiler that's baked into the binary, allow that to be overridden via some kind of like essentially a loader.
I think these loaders need their own package JSON.
I mean, I think realistically you would ship a loader as an NPM module, right? Like it would be like -- loader /node module / HTTPS loader / loader .js or something like that.
That's
I believe
how
it
I would
resolves. You don't even need the /.
Yeah, I mean, or whatever the simpler version of it is, but yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
well, anyway,
like,
yeah, I don't know when you guys joined. Sorry, I had my screen sharing and I didn't see Zoom, so I hope you weren't bored for too long. But yeah, it was just us, so we were just going through his PR. But did you guys have any other stuff you want to talk about during this time?
The only thing I've got is the HTTPS support PR for Node isn't currently compatible with loaders because it separates out import meta URL from the module map storage location, which loaders don't do right now. This has been a long running issue. It's like 2.5, no, I think it's 3 years old on the modules working group issues, where you can't set the cache key, is what we called it at the time, of a resolved module.
Okay.
wait, the cache key you're talking about in the like the module's cache that it has under the hood for when you import something?
Correct. So in the web specs, you can have 2 different module instances with the same import meta URL. We don't support that currently with the loaders design.
Sorry, you can have two. Can you say that again? You can have two
different instances of a module. So the classic one is you're at a JavaScript CDN, you load /react.
Mhm.
It performs a redirect to like React /1.5 or whatever. So the web will actually cache /react as one module. And if you import 1.5 separately, it'll be an entirely new module. And they will both have the same import meta URL.
Oh, that's trippy.
All right. So, well, I'm assuming you're landing this behind a experimental flag, I assume.
Yeah, it's
So
going to be
maybe,
experimental for at least a year.
yeah. So maybe why don't we should probably keep a list somewhere of like, things to take care of before either HTTPS becomes non-experimental or before loaders become non-experimental. you could add it to the like one of the, it's either the README or the roadmap file in the loaders repo. Just add it onto the markdown of like the to-do list there. Like I already have like 5 items for the next like 5 PRs. You just add it to that, unless there's some place where you're keeping track of HTTPS related stuff.
Not really. So that was one thing. There was another thing. We have an outstanding request for a data channel to be added to loaders so that your Git global preload code can talk to your hooks. So resolve and other stuff. I'm probably just going to PR that somewhere. It's not going to be too
or again, you want to
interesting.
just add it to the markdown file. It's like,
I'm just going to do a PR. I can add it to the markdown file and just point to the PR. It's literally just like
PR off of Jacob's, because I'm trying to get Jacob's merged in as soon as we can schedule.
I can wait till it merges before I write that PR. Sure.
Okay. I mean, or just branch out his branch. I think his branch is probably almost done.
I'll just wait. I'm lazy.
Okay.
You're asking me to do an
Well, let's
extra
at least put it in the
rebase.
markdown file then, so we don't forget it, if you don't mind.
When I'll make it, yeah, I'll do it.
Okay. Anything else? Bradley, have you had time to look at Jacob's PR?
I think I put some comments on it. I mean, I'm not a angry PR reviewer. Mostly if it works.
Well, I'm just
fine.
more like, did you have a chance to maybe like run it or check the, like I'm gonna try to check out the branch and run it and see that it runs the like my example loaders. Oh, I guess Jacob, when you update that node loaders repo, I guess let me know when that's done, because that's how I was going to test your PR. So if you were going to do that anyway to update those loaders, I'll wait for you to do that, and then I'll use those as my way to manually test your PR, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah, I shall.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I haven't developed in this section of the code base in like almost a year and a half, so I feel a little rusty. So Bradley, if you have any time to test it, I think Guy might have already done it, so I feel a lot less worried than I would have if he hadn't looked at it. But just to get more eyes on it would be good, because it's a pretty big one. Like he does the first like 3 bullets of our loaders to-do list. So. All right, we've got 4 minutes, and then the other team is kind of start showing up. Anything else we should cover?
I think no.
All right.
Oh, so I guess if anybody had any opinion on the issue that we talked about before you guys joined of automatically passing along resolves format to Node's default load hook if no custom load hook is defined. If you had any strong opinions on that, we were planning to do that as a follow-up. So
yeah, I'll add it to the documentation now that if resolve returns format, make sure you write a load hook that, if nothing else, calls default load and returns the previously determined format. Otherwise, Node won't do it. And then we can kind of, make that unnecessary in a follow-up PR.
Cool.
Okay. So yeah, in the future, I thought I had this. Yeah, I did have this up. I'll keep my Slack open to the ESM channel when I start these, so that if I don't notice people on Zoom, you can ping there, and I'll try to add you. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.
Cool.
All right, we'll see you.
Thanks, everybody.